Well, President Biden has vetoed a bill that would have added dozens of federal judges to understaffed courts nationwide. The bill, known as the Judges Act, would have added a total of 66 trial court judges in 25 federal district courts in 13 states through 2035. Now, Biden's decision to veto the bill comes after top Democrats accused House Republicans of breaking a promise to approve the bill before anyone knew who was going to be the next president. The bill was taken to a vote after Trump won the election in November. CBS News White House reporter Willie James Inman joins us now. Willie, Democrats were initially on board with this bill. What happened?
Hey there, Michael. Good to be with you. Well, this passed on a bipartisan basis in the Senate, and the reason why President Biden says he vetoed this was because of political gamemanship, essentially saying that the reasons behind this vote, why the House brought up this vote, is because they want it to be political in nature in terms of what happened after we saw the results of the 2024 presidential election. Now, I want to read part of President Biden's statement. He says the House of Representatives' hurried action fails to resolve key questions in the legislation, especially regarding how the new judgeships are allocated, and neither the House of Representatives nor the Senate explored fully how the work of senior status judges and magistrate judges affects the need for new judgeships. And now, the president's veto could be overruled, but that would take a 2/3 majority both in the House and the Senate. When this legislation came up for a vote in the House, they didn't have that threshold of votes. So the president here saying that this is my veto. He said he was going to do as much when the legislation passed. I also want to point out some criticism that he's receiving from Senator Todd Young of Indiana. He reacted swiftly to this, calling this veto a misguided decision, I should say. So the president receiving some pushback there with this veto that he's issued on this legislation, Michael.
Willie, another big decision here. President Biden set to decide on the fate of Japan's Nippon Steel's nearly $15 billion purchase of U.S. steel. Now, where is the president leaning on that, and when is he expected to make a decision?
Yeah, well, we know that the president has been against this deal for a bit of time now. He and President-elect Trump have worked to court union voters. The vice president also came out in opposition to this deal. But now this decision is in the president's hand after a government group decided to push this to the president's desk. Essentially, these are some of the statements that we are seeing. I want to bring up those for our viewers there. One of the statements is from U.S. Steel that says, the transaction between U.S. Steel and Nippon Steel enhances U.S. national and economic security through investment in manufacturing and innovation by a company based in the United States' closest allies, and forges an alliance in steel to combat the competitive threat from China. That from U.S. Steel, and a brief statement from Nippon Steel as well that says, it refers to the president, says, we urge him to reflect on the great lengths that we have gone to address any national security concerns that have been raised and the significant commitments we have made to grow U.S. Steel. Now, via a source familiar, there were some federal agencies represented that couldn't come to a consensus on how this national security threat would come about with a Japanese company purchasing a U.S. company. So no decision was made at that level, and this decision has now been pushed to the president of the United States, and he has 15 days, Michael, to make this decision about whether or not to approve this deal with Nippon Steel purchasing a U.S. Steel, I should say.
Now, I also want to ask about former President Clinton. We heard he's been hospitalized recently. What's the latest on his condition?
Yeah, the former president was hospitalized here in the D.C. area yesterday, recovering from a fever. We know now that he is recovering from the flu, and a spokesperson says he has been discharged from the hospital, and essentially thanking all of the support that he's received and thanking the members of the staff there at the hospital for his recovery. The president discharged. Of course, President Clinton is an older gentleman in his late 70s, so perhaps there's some concern there with his age, but the president recovering now from the flu, Michael.
All right, Willie James Inman at the White House. Thank you.